Okay. One more time. Confirm. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Yes, D-size cup. Hell yeah, my bountiful glory. Never seen FF? Well, there's quadruple G on there, man. We're talking like these motherfuckers up in there. Like some massive kahunases. That's what we're talking about. That complete, like, body dysmorphia where you have massive tits but you're tiny as fuck. There you go, Essentia. Just like that. Massive tits with tiny body. Absolutely peak. Okay, I should get out. Be back. True Muffin, go back to your stream, bro. I know I'm enticing, but you should be on your own stream. No, bomb dropper. I was distracted. Everything's a Mr. Beast is a donor, but when I see you, it increases my boner. Did I tell you they make donuts? Nice. Nice, bomb. Love it. Oh, okay, so we're almost back from ads. Just give it a second here. Alright. Followed you with my FF tits. Hell yeah!
More than 2,000 years ago, in a tiny part of India, one of the earliest texts of writing advice was written. It's called the Natya Shastra, and it was written by a sage named Bharata. Its original goal was to help playwrights, but I really think it's applicable to any writer. Honestly, we nearly lost this manuscript. We don't have the originals, which were about 12,000 verses long, but we do have fragments that add up to about 6,000. I've read it, and I'm gonna distill the 6 best pieces of advice that are gonna help you to write your book. 1.
Did you hear my response to it, bomb dropper?
Start with
emotion. Note 2,000-year-old stories. What? Start with emotion. That's kind of what we do, right? Like, we're killing a bunch of characters. We're literally showing Husai the mystery of his past. Where he's like, okay, well, these were all my friends that I left behind and said, you guys are good to go. And then he always regretted it because he was like, we thought we had enough. We always think we have enough, but we never have enough people to complete this. And it's like, if only I had been there. Maybe I could have been the linchpin that could have saved them, you know? It's like, fuck, man. If only I could have been there. But, unfortunately, he chose to go with the guild. And, like, bigger and grander things. And now he's seeing the fear and the pain of watching and finding out exactly what happened. And then at the end, there's so much of Torg made it out. Someone made it out. But the reason why no one's ever made it out is because someone is stopping people from making it out. That would be the Monarch. And I was thinking about maybe something that could show that, and it's like maybe an absence. But I'm going to be like, that's the time when he was technically dead, but then when he's dead, there's only this small period before moving up. So it's like there's this thing where it's like, well, fuck. I got to get that straightened out. So yeah, I think starting with emotion, definitely we have that.
emotion. What's so unusual about this advice is where Bharata starts. He doesn't start in the normal places, right? You would think he would start with plot, or he would start with character, or something like that. No, he says you should start with the emotion that you want the reader to feel. He then lists 8 emotions that you can choose from, and I think 6 of these are kind of to be expected. First, he starts with 3 positive ones. Vira, which is heroism. Karuna, which is like compassion or mercy. Hasya, which is laughter. Those are all great, those all make sense. And then he lists 3 negative ones. Bibhatsa, which translates to disgust. Bhayanika, which is like fear or terror. And Radra, which is fury or wrath. Now these totally make sense, right? If you've ever watched a horror movie,
these would make good character
Bhayanika,
names.
that's
Yeah.
fear. If you've ever read a book about revenge, that's Radra, that's wrath. If you've ever seen any Hollywood blockbuster, that's Vera, that's heroism. Now there's 2 last ones which I haven't mentioned, and these are the ones which were more surprising for me. First, Shringra, which is basically like romantic scenes. I was just reading The Reader, which is a German international bestseller set in World War II, and a lot of the appeal of that book are the spicy scenes. And writers know, right? If you throw in a little romance, of course it's going to appeal to your reader. When Sarah Alexander presented
Sex
her novel
sells.
Under Sardinian Sky to her agent, the agent said, I think you need to pump up the spicy scenes a little bit because it would drive sales. And if you've read any of Sally Rooney's fiction, she often prioritizes those scenes to show physically what characters are doing with love. And if you want to learn more about this, my book, The Linchpin Writer, has a whole chapter devoted to here's how not to write those scenes and here's good ways to write those scenes. Now, the second emotion that surprised me in this list of 8 emotions was Adabuddha, which translates roughly to like to wonder or amazement. The literal translation is marvelous sentiment, but basically it's giving this reader this sense of like awe and marveling at your story. Now, there's lots of ways to do this in your fiction, right? I think if you're doing any world building,
I don't know if I think we have that, because like it's literally like going into like preparing for a raid in an MMO. Like it's supposed to hit like that, right? And it's just like thrown completely at you. You're in the middle of it. You don't know what the fuck is going on. And I'm like, that's how like 90% of anime start. Look like pretty much like solo leveling. Everyone just fucking dies. No one has any idea what the fuck is going on. Just throws you right into the middle of it. And there's some sort of twist or thing that makes it so it's a little bit weirder, right? In this case, it's finding this calmed pearl in the first place. And being able to figure out whatever the hell's going on. So the main ones are fear and disgust at himself. And same with like not curiosity, like he doesn't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. He doesn't know if this is a warning from someone being like, hey, you need to see this, or this is a threat from someone saying, if you interfere. And that's why he thinks it came from the Viceroy, because of the Viceroy doing the Beastman thing. But it just happened to be a coincidence that the Viceroy was going against the Monarch. So Husai's like, fuck, maybe it was the Viceroy, maybe it was the anti-fanatics. How did they get into the guild? And all this crazy shit. So that brings up a lot of other questions, and it's like, okay, well then it's like fury at like, who the fuck could have broken into the guild and put that there? Who's trying to blackmail me? Who's trying to fucking threaten me? What the fuck is going on here? So it throws a lot at you at the beginning.
You're describing a really beautiful place, like that can invoke this wonder and amazement in the reader. Or if you show some
well, that's the wonder and amazement is like the setting, right? Inside of this giant dungeon. You're not quite sure what the fuck it is.
Of the supernatural, or show some miracle or something. Those are ways to make the reader just marvel at the mysteries of human existence and the beauty of our physical world. Honestly, I think a lot of writers forget that they're trying to make readers feel wonder and amazement. So this is just a helpful little reminder. I have so many writers come to me and ask me, John, how do I start writing a book? And I think it's really interesting that the Natya Shastra says, no, you don't start with plot, you don't start with characters, you start with the emotion, and after you pick that emotion, then you decide decide what is the storyline and what are the characters that will evoke that emotion in the reader. And I think what's truly amazing about this advice is it is reader-centric advice rather than book-centric advice. So you're looking beyond the book already to the effect that you want the book to have. Second piece of advice from the Natya Shastra.
5 stages of the plot.
Is the 5 stages of the plot. Now, I have spent 20 years of my life teaching writing. I have read all the books. I have read all the ideas out there, and I've never seen anything quite like this. I mean, everyone always talks about Aristotle's Poetics, right? Supposedly that's like the most ancient piece of advice on writing craft. And it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? The Poetics is great. It definitely will teach you how to write a story. But I don't know why more people aren't talking about the plot ideas in the Natya Shastra. It's very helpful. So the first stage is the beginning. Okay, not exact.
Beginning. Sounds easy enough, guys. Sounds easy enough. But it never is, right?
Groundbreaking yet, but hold on. The way that this is described is the beginning creates curiosity about the
attainment of the greater object. Writing advice would be like, the book should have a beginning. Creates curiosity about the attainment of the great object. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing in the first chapter, because the great object would be the fucking emerald weapon that they need by the end of the book.
Attainment of the great object. So I want to point out a few things, right? One, you already have set up that the protagonist wants some sort of great object. There's a desire there. Will she be able to woo the cute barista? Will he be able to win the war? Whatever it is that they want, they have a desire now. And the second point I'd like to make is that there is curiosity in the reader. Will they be able to get that desire? If it's not a very big desire, then there's not going to be curiosity, right? The reader's going to be like, of course they're going to get that. I don't need to read the book now. The second step is my
It's like, you're the leader of the guild, and your job is to be the bridge between the tree and the adventurers guild, and you need to find some sort of way to get the fuck out of there. That's basically Husai's mission. We gotta go out into the world and we gotta figure this shit out, but I can't do it in here. This isn't good. This not good. We gotta get out of here. And then with everything else going on, it's like, this is instigating something. Something is about to happen, and of course you're predicting the Great Beastman War restarting again. And of course, that's what happens. The Great Beastman War starts again.
Absolute favorite step, and it's called the effort. And I'm gonna keep on
the effort.
including the Sanskrit names, just if you're curious about the original language, but I'll stick to the English translations. So what I love about the effort is that I've never heard the second stage of a plot described in this way. And it's
Did anything
perfect.
happen?
So
no, not really. I'm just talking about my book, Bomb Dropper. We're just basically doing a test to see... Wait, what happened to the background? When did that happen? Hold on a second here. Why is it black? Oh no, there's a gap in the video. That's what happened. Okay, well this is the last one. Well anyways, okay, well while we're at it guys, let's go with... okay, so this was an idea as well. Nah, you racist. What? What? Fuck that come from? So we got them all there, right? And this way you can like fully see the sexy bitches? But I mean, I think the big sexy bitches calls into effect a bigger thing, right? Yeah, it just went black and fucked up, so we changed it. Cause the video had a pause in it. But, I mean, we can just leave it like this for a bit. You guys let me know which one of these 4 things you guys want to be in the background. Because this is them kind of all split apart. So you can see what exactly they all are.
Part of the problem that I have when working as an editor is that sometimes authors will have passive characters. They're not doing a lot of stuff. And I feel like if you use this plot progression, there is no way to avoid having the character work, right? It's literally called...
I don't know what you mean by the first one. We got top left, bottom left, bottom right, and the wide one. So like 1, 2, 3. The green one? That one?
The effort. So I think this helps the writer couch the story in terms of how can I make my protagonist work toward the desire. I grew up watching the A-Team, and in every single A-Team episode, they have this montage where basically it shows the effort. They are welding stuff, they are screwing stuff in, they are like building something, all to help them for the climactic scene where they help out some poor unfortunates. Or think about a training montage in a Rocky movie. He's sawing wood, he's pulling sleds, he's chopping down trees. Folks, this is the effort, and you absolutely have to show your character striving and working hard to get what they want. The third step is the possibility of attainment. This is a stage in which the hero gets closer to the goal. They make concrete steps to get closer to what they want. So obviously this is a stage which includes positive steps forward, but I would also add, just as a general note, there can be setbacks in this stage as well, right? Overall, the hero's getting closer, but it can be a bit of a jagged line where there's a big step forward and then a setback, a big step forward and then a...
Well, it's like, I gotta leave the tree to go to an audit. Okay, I gather together my friends. You know about the Magic Rampage game? No, Bomb Dropper. What is the Magic Rampage game? Sounds interesting. But anyways, Husai is gathering people together, looking for, to talk to the Beastmen. But all of a sudden, all the Beastmen are gone. So it's like, well, how are we supposed to talk to them if they're all gone? Why are all the villages all of a sudden emptied out? Like, Magic Rampage is a cool game. Okay. Sounds cool, Bomb Dropper. What's it about? So that's kind of the setback. But then they find the Sahagin Chief and the goblins and the tunnel and all the equipment, and it's like, oh shit, man, like this might actually be a bad thing. And it's like, well, where would they go? And it's like to Garuda, and this before they even basically get there, you know, they've called everyone together and like this emergency gathering of all of the adventurers. It is a good storyline. That's cool.
Setback. The fourth stage in the plot structure is the possibility of resolution. And I've also seen this translated as certainty of attainment, but I'm not sure that's exact.
And this would be like the possibility of resolution is they're basically sitting on Garuda's walls being like, why would the Beastmen ever attack? That's the stupidest thing to do. And I'm basically amping it up to give the reader the idea that the Beastmen are pretty much like savages and it's worthless, and it might as well be barbarians attacking the gates of fucking Rome. And it's like they're just gonna get repelled and fucked over. But then it's like, oh my god, they have things we wouldn't expect them to fucking have.
the right term. This is the stage of the plot which is very close to the end. It's basically sort of similar to, in the Western mind, what we would call a climax. There is a very strong possibility of resolution, but it's not quite resolved yet. Basically,
so we have like multiple of these throughout the story, right? So there's the fall of Garuda, the fall of Husai, the rise of Husai, the finding of the 100-Year Quest, the finding of Atomus, the confrontation of Fafnir, and then the final confrontation of the Monarch.
there are conflicts and obstacles that are still standing in your hero's way of getting what they want. Think of in Slumdog Millionaire, when Jamal gets to the very last question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Or think of The Martian by Andy Weir, when Mark Watney finally gets that vehicle to work and lifts off from the surface of Mars. Or when Harry finally discovers the location of the last Horcrux at Hogwarts. For each one of those stages, the hero hasn't won, right? Something can still go wrong. Something could be ruined. But
like getting the diamond
right
weapon,
at the moment
but still.
where they could win it all. Now, the fifth and final stage in the Natya Shastra's idea of plot is the fruition. And sometimes this is also phrased as attainment of the object, meaning like the hero actually gets what they want. This is when the story loop closes, things are resolved, and everyone walks away happy or sad if it's a tragedy. So if we were to graph this storyline, it would basically be an upward diagonal arc. This is story plotting that's based on character desire and working hard to get what they want. Now, a little side note here. If you do need a little bit of help with plotting, check out my course, Write Your Best Novel. It is 36 videos chock full of writing advice that takes you all the way from your first page to the ending. The third thing that we can learn from the Natya Shastra is 3 things that every book should have.
3 things every book should have. All right, let's see if we have it.
So it says that the goal for every book is to show 3 worlds or levels.
Gun,
the
sex,
human,
and violence.
the divine, and the demonic. Now, if you take this literally, you think, oh, this isn't very helpful for modern fiction writers.
Bro, I never get why daemons are always the evil one. Like, they live in peace, and there's the humans who think that daemons are threatening just by daemons living. Just imagine you're a chill daemon having a good time, mind your own business, and suddenly an army comes and kills you. Like, bruh. True, bomb dropper. I think that's how a lot of people feel. Daemons do not equal demons. Whether we're talking in a biblical sense, demons are basically like tortured souls and twisted souls. Blonde BZ! Welcome. How's it going? Hell yeah! Give you a backflip on that one.
You can't have angels and demons unless you're Frank Peretti, and you're probably not going to have divine and demonic unless you're Neil Gaiman writing something like American Gods. But if you take it figuratively, I actually think this is enormously helpful. I mean, think about the demonic realm as kind of a vicious, savage antagonist. Or perhaps a horrific mistake that your protagonist makes. I do think in general that the demonic tends to come easier for writers, right? They've been coached like, oh, I need conflict, oh, I need awful characters and people. And so it's honestly easier to write those parts. I think it might be a little bit harder for people to remember to include the divine in their books.
That's Gaia. And like the entire idea of magic is on a pretty divine level because it's connected to the body and the soul is connected to the fabric of reality through consciousness.
Radical acts of forgiveness, say, or radical acts of kindness or of self-sacrifice. Think of all the ways that people are kind to Uva in A Man Called Uva by Frederick Bachman. Now, this was made into an American movie called A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks, and that's probably because people can't pronounce Uva, because most people say Ove. But there are such incredible...
To me, demons mean otherworldly creatures, since hell is a world in itself designed for torture. Assuming such a plane existed at all, then yes, any one thing from hell would indeed be a demon, but so would an extraterrestrial. And why the fuck are people jealous about killing demons? Daemons are a broader category of spiritual creature. Demons are spiritual creatures who are enemies of God. I see.
perfectly kind acts inside this
Welcome,
book.
welcome,
Think of
Sean. How's it going?
Parwane, who is this Iranian woman who constantly brings him food, invites him over for dinners, asks him to teach her to drive, protects him from local authorities, and most importantly, interrupt his attempts to off himself. Even though Uva is a very grumpy old man, there are such heartwarming acts of kindness inside this book, and I think it's important to work on that for your book, to show the divine in your own book. And then lastly, the third category is the human. Everyday people, everyday situations, everyday emotions. This is relatable storytelling that lets your readers see themselves in the story. Sometimes
Struggles
the
of the
divine and
normal man
demonic aren't the everyday texture of our lives, right? They're more like sensational, dramatic things, but we don't feel them in the core of our being because it isn't happening to us on a day-to-day basis. But the human level, it is dealing with those super small annoyances like that horrible driver on the freeway. Those make the story relatable. The fourth thing we have to learn from the Natya Shastra.
Have a vibrant stream of talk. Turu Essentia, you as well if you are streaming. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for stopping in and having a hangout. Always good. Just by not praying the gods, they oppose the gods. Well, that's true. Hell yeah. A demon wouldn't be an enemy of God, but the one of their tools, whose main reason to exist is to torture the souls of those who earned a trip to hell. However, since their only function is torturing people, having one on Earth could be catastrophic. True, Sean. Number 4. 5 elements of storytelling. Alright, let's see if we have these.
Is the 5 elements of storytelling. The first thing is the seed. This is a little thing that is dropped at the beginning of your story, which comes around to bear fruit toward the end of your story. For instance, if you're using a kind of bookend structure to begin and end with the same thing in your book, or the same theme, or the same place, or the same line of dialogue, that is similar to the seed idea. And sometimes seeds do a really good job of contributing to the overall theme of your book. I was just reading In the Narrow Road to the Deep North, which is a novel
Discovering
about
the past. Like that actually is probably like, now that I'm thinking about it, like discovering the past and like learning from the past and trying not to repeat the past is probably another really big theme in the book, thinking about it now. So how the fuck did Hitler come to Earth? Because humans are terrible people, Bomb Dropper. That's why human souls get sent to hell. Because they are so terrible and horrid and awful. But think about this, Bomb Dropper. Hitler went to hell 100%. You know why? Because he killed himself. That is the only guaranteed way to get into hell. No matter what you do on earth, if you genuinely apologize and take the Lord into your heart and you know, pray for forgiveness and all that shit, you have a chance of going to heaven. But not if you kill yourself. You kill yourself, that's an instant to hell. I gave you this life, you took it away, fuck you. Get out of here. At least that's the biblical understanding.
And POWs stuck building this railroad during World War II. And at first I didn't notice it, but then when I reached the end of the book, I realized every single act of kindness...
That's assuming that Jesus exists, which I do believe, but we can't prove that. True, Sean. Not sure about that one. Anyway, the only unforgivable sin is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. What? I'm pretty sure that could be forgiven, Levi, but suicide can't. As far as I know. But then again, that's not, like, Catholic, that's Protestant, so you don't,
around food. Food is a means of extending grace to others, of preventing starvation, of righting wrong. Food becomes a really powerful seed throughout this story. So just think about what your seed element is throughout your book and how you can plant little seeds throughout that have payoffs later on. The second essential story element is the vital drop. So Baha'u'llah's idea of the vital drop is sort of like, what is the glue that holds this entire story together? This is the type of stuff that prevents your plot from separating off and seeming like a whole bunch of tiny little different stories. The closest Western concept that I can come up with that
Taking the Lord's name in vain is the sin, since we tend to simply say God, which is the title rather than the name. That one doesn't happen. Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is often understood to be a rejection of God's free gift of grace, but experts are divided. So it's like spitting in the face of God, basically.
Matches this would probably be the concept of a through line.
As opposed to, like, you know, just the I don't believe without proof atheist take, right?
If you remember the series The X-Files, there are all sorts of standalone episodes, and then there are these episodes that further this overall arc of all the seasons, the main storyline. That is the through line, which is tying the whole story together. And this is a pretty common fail when it comes to story collections, is a lot of the time there is not a vital drop that holds all these stories together. Why are they all being published?
Heard of Ramyan, the history of Indian great got Hanuman and Ram. No, bomb dropper. What's that about?
Together, other than the fact that one person wrote them, right? What connects these stories? The greatest short story collections have a really strong vital drop that connects them all, that glues them all together.
And that's like the idea of, what do you call it? Ads. We call it ads. It is ads. We're at ads. God. This is a slippery slope of a topic, though. Aside from terminology and trying to see the different views of what one term would mean over another, we probably should just drop it all together. No, Sean, it's a theological discussion. I don't think anyone here is having any issues with it. As long as we all understand it's different interpretations and it's not necessarily like anyone's right or wrong. It's just different possibilities for it, right? So I think it's actually very important to discuss it. But that reminds me of the clip of the day that I was going to show. So remember how a while ago I was talking about how, you know, how you eliminate racism with humor?
To a, like, we have to get a we have to...
Where the fuck was it? Here it is. This shit is great.
Oh man, no, yeah, fighting for his life. Yeah, you don't need to be doing that. It's just his anxiety, guys. I do think that, in my opinion, I think that it's I think it's weird that touching people, like, and it's I don't know, the whole thing, everything about it is weird. Because, like, obviously it's consensual between
the one thing
adults,
about my faith is
that
the line your
television,
faith has made you whole is the most important part.
It's, like, normalized.
I don't care what you believe as long as you're true to your belief.
You know,
and aren't just spouting the words others
I'm
dumped in front of you. Being faithfully wrong is just as acceptable to God as being faithfully right.
I'd be in trouble, and I think most people would do that. Why does he never touch Bella Ramsey? Because he's just being a weirdo. That's the reason why. And how fast men can become friends. What's this?
Give me your money, bitch.
Oh, calm down, bro.
You calm down. Just hurry up.
Are you a black guy?
Are you serious?
What?
What, just because I'm robbing you mean I'm black?
Well, I mean,
Why would you think that?
I don't know, maybe because you're robbing me and you're black?
How you know I wasn't a white guy?
Because, bro, you talk black.
Excuse me? Talk black?
Sorry. I mean, talk African American.
I didn't know black was a language.
Look, man, I didn't mean to offend you, okay? I was nervous.
How would you feel if I just assumed you was a gardener?
I am a gardener.
How would you feel if I assumed you was in a mariachi
No.
band?
I'd be fine with it. I love mariachi.
How would you feel if I assumed you was illegal?
Oh, okay. Calm down. That's too far.
Yeah,
We ain't
yeah.
even talking.
Doesn't feel too good. doesn't.
So how would you feel if I assumed you need to pay child support?
How would you
my
feel if I
God.
assumed all you did was get drunk and watch soccer?
How would you feel if I assumed you
I'm so glad racism is back. I've been waiting on this for a while. Thank God.
only eat chicken and
How
watermelon?
would you feel if I assumed you only eat tacos and fajitas?
How would you? Damn, I could really go for a taco right now.
Hey, actually,
Yeah.
I could do the same.
There's actually an amazing taco truck down the street.
Oh, really? I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
You probably won't like it though, because they don't have grape soda.
You know the difference between a Hispanic and a stoner?
Oh no.
Stoners have
You
papers.
know the difference between a black father and a boomerang?
What's that?
Boomerang.
What's your favorite band? One Direction?
What's really long and black? The line at KFC.
That one's
That's
kinda...
not the original one. That's not the original joke.
funny. I like that one.
It's good, right? I like One Direction, I'm not gonna lie.
It was a good
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah, it wasn't bad, wasn't bad.
See, man, it's okay to laugh at each other sometimes. As long as after all the ignorant jokes and stupid
Yeah.
comments, we actually respect each other.
That's
Wow.
about the correction. Wow.
That was beautiful.
Now, give me your money, bitch.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man, I gotta pay this child support.
Oh no. The funny thing is, like, people, like, guys will have conversations like this, and then
This is
like
that
they'll be like
shit.
totally friends. Like this is the kind of stuff.
This is the kind of shit we did with our friends, man. Just having a fucking good time. It's called fucking banter.
The third element is storytelling. Is probably the most obvious one. It's the episode. Now, this refers to the inciting incident of the plot, but it also refers to any sort of scene in your book which furthers the plot. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this because I think it's incredibly obvious, right? I mean, most of you writing your book, you're going to include scenes that further the main plot, okay? So instead, I want to spend a lot more time on the next one, which I think is much more surprising. The fourth element of storytelling is the episodical incident. These are events or scenes which are not directly tied to furthering the plot. And normally we do think of a good book where every single scene builds toward the end. And in general, I'd say that's true.
Yeah, but there's
this
still
is a
the
very important exception. With these little
introspections.
outside
Introspection, smaller side, lore dumps, backgrounds, people, like, character interactions, filling out the world, right? I think that's really important as well.
the plot scenes, you can work on stuff like humor or character development. For example, they can help with world building, right? In Lord of the Rings, when they make that little side quest to Tom Bombadil, does that really further the plot with Ring and Mordor and all that jazz? It really doesn't. And that's probably why Peter Jackson left out of the film, right? But to Tolkien, Tom Bombadil was really important as a means of creating this entire world. 2, character development. These non-plot scenes can do a lot of work in helping the reader to understand who your characters are. For example, Harper Lee's book To Kill a Mockingbird. There is an incident when Atticus shoots a wild dog. Now, does this progress the plot? Not exactly, but it tells us so much. It establishes that he's willing to protect the town. There's this symbolism of him like being the one who protects this town. There's the element of him earning the respect of his children by doing this. It honestly is a pivotal scene in the book. And these sorts of scenes are also really useful in terms of pacing. These sort of scenes often provide a change of tone in terms of moving from serious to humorous or back, and can also shift the pace between more plot-driven scenes into more reflective scenes. For instance, in Pulp Fiction, the conversation in the car between Vincent and Jules about what they call hamburgers in Europe. Oh, those crazy Europeans. Or in the movie The Princess Bride, the way the grandson constantly interrupts the grandfather's story. So here's a little exercise for you. I want you to divide your novel into the sections that further the plot and don't further the plot, and then look at the ratio. If you have too high of a ratio of non-plot forwarding stories, the story's gonna get bogged down, right? And readers are not gonna want to continue. I think if you actually have too high of the plot-centric aspects, then the reader's not gonna feel like they have any chance to take a breath. Give the reader a pause and let them have a chance to laugh or to get to know a character better. Now, the last element of storytelling is action. This is dramatic action that furthers the plot. But when we hear the word action, sometimes we think of things like car chases or something, and that's not what this is. It's a lot bigger than that. Now, obviously,
I'd say an action like this would be like gaining new equipment, like, you know, gaining a new squire, a new party member, a new goal, figuring something out about the world, right? That kind of stuff.
does include physical actions. Think of Old Man in the Sea when he is wrestling with that marlin. But you can also have verbal actions.
Getting in an argument. Yeah, there you go. Getting in an argument. That's a good one.
Spars verbally with Mr. Darcy, and that establishes the tone of their relationship. Lastly, and this is definitely one not to overlook, are mental actions. These are the thoughts and decisions that influence the plot. Think of Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, when Raskolnikov is wrestling internally with the guilt of having killed this lady. The fifth overall thing that we can learn from this book is on character development. The Nadia Shastra argues that the writer needs to show that the protagonist is similar to a lot of other people. But think about when this was written. This was BC, people. This was before the novel was ever invented. So most stories in this time period were still about kings and nobles and knights, people of very high importance. No books were written about the common everyday person. That really didn't happen until the advent of the novel, which was like the 1700s. So what Bharata is really saying here is even when your protagonist is very different than your reader, you still have to work really hard to make them super relatable. But how does this impact us as writers? I mean, really this could be as simple as giving your character a kind of hobby, like golf or riding their bike or something, right? Something that helps us to connect with them as a person and helps us to feel like, oh, this is like an everyday guy or girl. And then there's one more thing that this book teaches us about characters, and it's that every single character in your novel needs to have an element of the human, the divine, and the demonic. You remember this advice from the plot section, and it applies to characters as well. A one-dimensional character only has the divine in them, or only has the demonic in them. Even the best hero should have a moral failing, a type of Achilles heel. And even the worst villain should have some element of the divine, like love for a child. The sixth and final thing that you can learn
Purpose of storytelling
from this book is the purpose of storytelling. Why are you writing your book? What's the point? The Natya Shastra identifies three different options: entertainment, education, or an experience. Then it says two of those are decent, but not primary, and there's really only one important reason. So about entertainment, it says, listen, entertainment's great, don't get me wrong, but it is not the primary purpose. You want your book to entertain, yes, but you don't set out as the only goal of your book to entertain.
I look for experience! There you go, Callie. Perfect. Can you react to this after? Sure, just post it in the chat there, Bomber.
And it says education's great, right? Books can teach you virtue, they can teach you proper behavior and improper behavior, what to avoid. They can teach you ethical and moral fortitude. They can teach you courage. They can teach you love. I just think of In All the Pretty Horses, John Grady Cole. Oh, what an honorable character, going out fighting for the love of his life. You read that and you're like, I want to be like that character. And those are the type of characters you want to create because it makes the reader want to emulate them. But again, with education, it's good, but it's not the true purpose of your book. The true purpose of your book is the third thing: experience. The Nadia Shastra says the main purpose of your storytelling should be to transport your reader into a completely different world, immerse them in the emotions and physicality of this world. You want them to experience the essence of their own consciousness and the consciousness of the characters. So in some ways, this is similar to the very first point. Give your readers an experience and they will come back time and time again for more.
Well, that's our experience that we want to show people, essentially, is how a perfect life, there will still be struggles in it. The idea that all utopias fall under their own weight. It's only a matter of time. And even given a post-scarcity environment where literally you can't fucking die, you don't need to eat or drink, you don't need to do anything, you just exist. And it's like, well, alright, here is the link. Go check out Bookfox. Give him a shout. Give him a comment, a like. How are you today? Deja, welcome, welcome. We're doing good. We just finished the React section. And now we are moving on to, Bomb Drop wants me to react to something.